Welcome to GS Core, and in today's One Day One Answer theme, a daily answer initiative, today's topic will be coming from economy and we'll be discussing UPSC 2024 previous year question. In mostly One Day One Answer, we usually discuss the PYQs and we mostly target the latest ones. And we'll be discussing today an important topic that has been frequently asked again and again in the UPSC, that is land reforms. So the question that UPSC asked this time was, what are the factors responsible for the successful implementation of land reforms in some part of the country? So first of all, if you have to decode this question, first of all you need to understand what is land reforms. But before that, let us see what are the things that UPSC is asking. First of all, he is asking about the successful implementation of what? Land reforms in India, parts of the country. So you have to, in this part, understand first of all the topic is coming from your agriculture part, that is land reforms. Then secondary part is your subtopic is your land reforms and its related issues. Then you should also know the demand of the question, that it is talking about the implementation in some Indian states, that examples related to some Indian states where the land reforms were successful. Then you also have to analyze the socio-political, we can say economic conditions that were responsible for their implementation. Then you can talk about the significance also in the rural economy, that how it transformed the rural society. So first of all, you must know about land reforms. Then only you will be able to tackle this question. So if you talk about land reforms, they are mostly a form of agriculture reforms that led the initiative of changing the laws, changing the regulations, changing the customs and ownership of the land. And in these land reforms, we mostly aim at redistribution of land, tenancy reforms, ceiling on land and consolidation of land holdings. And also in the socio terms or socio-economic terms, we can talk about that our objective is to reduce the inequalities in the society part and also to enhance the agriculture productivity. That's why we want to do the land reforms. If we talk about some data related to the land holdings today, there are three types of categories that we divide the farmers. First is the large farmers. Large farmers, those who are having more than 10 hectares of land, and they are roughly around 1%. Then there are medium farmers, those who are having land between 2 to 10 hectares, and they, if we categorize them, they are roughly around 6 to 9%. And then there are small and marginal farmers, and they have land, if we talk about less than 2 hectares of land they are having, and their percentage is quite high. More than 85% of such are the farmers. So this is the condition in India, and that's why we require land reforms. So these are mostly reforms that are initiated by the government and for the people, we can say agriculture people, and also it depends, it focuses on how we can relocate the land to the landless people. Land acquisition is a different concept as compared to the land reforms. So land acquisition means government is acquiring private land for some infrastructure development. So that is a different concept. If we talk about the objectives of the land reforms, that what were the mostly objectives of such land reforms? So such reforms focused on the institutional problems that we were having regarding the agriculture productivity part, land productivity part, and land reforms part was there. So institutional problem. To solve all such problems, we brought the land reforms. Second was socio-economic inequality that was in the system, because majority of the land was with the big landlords, and they were mostly coming from the high caste, and those who were tenants or those people, those who were not having their own land, they were coming mostly from the lower section of the society. So second objective was socio-economic, to reduce the socio-economic inequality. Inequality in terms of the land, the rich class was having more land, and the caste inequality that was in the system. Third was how we can improve the agriculture productivity. So these were the basically three major objectives. So the problem of this land started during the British time period, and they developed exploitative kind of system that led to the degradation of agriculture in India. And basically Britishers brought lot number of changes in the agriculture system, such as exploitative acts such as Zamindari Act, then there was Raiyatwari Act, and other acts such as Mehalwari Act. It led to exploitation of the farmers. If we go via the map, so in Bengal region we see Zamindari was there, Zamindari Act. In Punjab region there was Mehalwari Act, and in the Madras region there was Raiyatwari Act. And in this part, the government used to collect the revenue from the farmers, and the tax was quite high, roughly around 50 to 60% of the total produce. That if a farmer has grown 100 kg of grains, the Britishers will take 60 kg, and rest 40 kg that farmer has to go to the market and then sell that product. And in that 40 kg also, roughly he will keep some amount, so roughly around 20 kg for his family and his subsistence need, and then sell the rest. So it was quite difficult for the farmer to live a we can say dignified life. It was quite difficult. So government of India after independence tried to change this type of system, and they brought some reforms related to abolition of the zamindari, then tenancy reforms, what should be the rent that the tenant should be paying, ceiling on land holding, how much amount of land a individual entity can hold, and finally the fourth part, land consolidation part. If a farmer is having land in a village A and some land in village B and some land in village C, how we can exchange those lands so that all the land comes under village A. So that was land consolidation. So let us move to our next part, that is, out of the four factors we will be discussing the first part, that is abolition of intermediaries. Abolition of intermediaries. In this part, when the government brought this regulation, roughly around 2 crore we can say tenants, they became the owners because the intermediaries were removed. Usually the landlord was there and he was collecting the tax from the farmer. After collecting too much of the tax, he used to leave that village and move to the urban area and deploy a intermediary whose work will be to collect the tax and give it to the zamindar, original zamindar. After few time, that intermediary will get too much of the tax part or tax money, and he will become rich, and then he will shift to the urban area, and then he will deploy a again intermediary. So this chain of cycle was there, and it was quite exploitative. The Britishers were taking rent roughly around 50 to 60% of the produce, and these intermediaries, they also wanted the profit, so they increased the tax part to 70%. So it was quite exploitative in nature. So government removed this type of system, zamindari and the intermediary system, and this helped the two core tenants, and they become the original cultivators, original owners of these lands. It also helped in ending the parasite culture that was going on in India. That was the intermediary part, and government took possession of such land, and then they distributed it to the landless farmers or the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe. And the legal abolition also helped in bringing the tenants or the lower section of the society in direct contact with the government. So it was advantageous in some kind, but it was also disadvantageous also. Disadvantage such as it did not lead to abolition in all the states. It was not that much powerful act, and zamindari still continued in India. This is a big problem. It only removed the top layer of the landlords in India, not throughout we can say zamindari was abolished. It also led to large scale eviction of the zamindar and the intermediaries, that led to the socio-economic and administrative and legal challenges for the government. Then we can talk about some examples, such as in Jammu Kashmir and West Bengal, government legalized the abolition. Jammu Kashmir, West Bengal, and these were government legalized. That's why the reforms went well in these areas. But you can also give examples of such as Sairati Mahal. This is a kind of system, ordinance that the government brought, and it was more for the markets, fisheries, ferries, that led the changes in these areas, but not affecting the agriculture part. So government brought some changes, but not related to the agriculture. Laws applied over here for tenants, but not in agriculture land. So a kind of mismatch thing was happening. And large scale intermediaries are still existing in India even after the bringing such acts. So this is also one of the disadvantage you can write. Next is tenancy reforms. In this tenancy reform part, we see pre-independence era, the text that the tenant is mostly a person who is not having his own land and he is working on someone else's land. So he is cultivating their land, and that person has to give the tax or rent. In the pre-independence era, this tax was around 60 to 75% of the total produce. So the tax part was quite high. So after independence, government brought the changes in the tenancy reform part that led to the regulation of rent. It also provided security. Regulate rent, provide security. Security of tenure, that he will not be evicted from his land which he is cultivating without any solid reason, we can say. And also ownership to tenants. So government mostly focused on these parts, and after independence we tried to regulate the rent from 60 to 65, 60 to 75, it was brought down to 20 to 25%. This helped the farmers to improve his condition, and it was implemented in all states except states such as Haryana, Punjab, Jammu Kashmir, Tamil Nadu. In such states these acts were not implemented. So these were the issues related to the tenancy part, and they were not that much effectively. Only few states implemented such abolition act, and they tried to recognize the tenants and the sharecroppers also. So these were the issues related to this part. Then the third part, that is ceiling on land holdings. It means we are limiting an amount of land legally a person or a individual entity can hold. No individual farmer can hold more than this amount of land, and if person is holding that excess amount of land, it will be taken by the government and it will be redistributed to the tenants, sharecroppers or the landless farmers. So there was a committee in 1942 that gave the verdict regarding how much of land should be there. So you can write Kumar Appan Committee. Kumarappan committee was there, and they talked about the maximum size of land that an individual can retain. And in 1961-62 we see government passed the land ceiling acts in India, and this ceiling varied from state to state. In 1972 there was a, we can say, national guidelines was made regarding the ceiling. So this came in 1942, then 1971 national guidelines were brought. And it talked about how the ceiling will vary from region to region, from land to land, good quality of land to best quality of land, and its productivity factors, the ceilings were varying. According to it, 10 to 18 hectares of land, 10 to 18 hectares of land a person can keep if it was in a best condition, if it was giving best productivity. 18 to 27 hectares semi-west, and 27 to 54 for hills and desert region. Such classification was bought by the government, and the state would also try to identify if someone is having surplus land, and then the government will take it from that person and then it will redistribute amongst the landless farmers or the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe category. We talked about some issues related to it. Issues were, it was mostly a toothless act. Did not prove too much handy that it improved the system. There were too many loopholes and people used those loopholes to escape the state punishment. Such as we can say Benami transfers were there, that the person used to transfer the surplus land to his relative or the servant part. They also transferred the land in the name of their wives, and then they gave the divorce to their wife, and the wife and the husband are still living together. So again, this is a quite funny type of loophole that people used, and why they are doing that thing I will tell in future. In next slide we can say. Next is finally the fourth part, that is related to the land reforms part, that is consolidation of land. In this part, reorganizing or redistributing of the fragmentation of land into a single plot. If a land is in one area over here in different parts of the village, we'll try to combine and make it a big single plot land. And this will help in future because it will reduce the we can say agriculture cost, and also it will reduce the cost of fertilizers, pesticide that the farmer is going to use. So overall the agriculture production cost will decrease. Examples you can quote over here is that it was almost done by all the states except Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Manipur and Nagaland. And if we talk about the majority of the land, it is right now in Nagaland, and if we talk about the smaller land holding part, it is in your Kerala part, you can write. The land holding size is decreasing due to increasing in the population. In 1971, 1971, the average land was roughly around 2.2 hectares, and in roughly around, if we talk about 2015, it was 1.08 hectare, and if we talk about 2024, it has again decreased to 514. Why? If a person is having, suppose, 4 hectares of land and he is having 4 sons, he will equally divide that land into each part. Again, if a person is having 4 kids, he will again divide the land into 4 parts. So this is the problem that we are facing, and it is quite difficult to do agriculture on a smaller piece of land because the cost of agriculture will increase. Fertilizers, chemicals, machinery, tractor part. So all such equipments are going to be used. That's why the cost of agriculture will increase. Then if we talk about some examples you can quote over here is the Bhudan and the Gramdan movement. Vinoba Bhave, a disciple of Mahatma Gandhi ji, and he started this Bhudan and the Gramdan movement, and in this part the land was transferred to the landless Harijan farmers, and it started in Pochampalli village in Telangana. And in this part it was a non-violent movement after independence also in 1950s. And it appealed the people to transfer the land to the landless farmers in a non-violent way. And this is the first kind of movement that was without any litigation. It only appealed the people. In 1951, this Bhudan movement was transferred to the Gramdan movement. In that, villagers and the farmers were asked to transfer the land in the name of the village. So village as a single entity will be holding the larger amount of land, and together the people will be cultivating the land. If we talk about the first village that come under this Gramdan movement was Magrot. Haripur in the UP region, Uttar Pradesh region example you can take, and it was a good type of movement. There were some drawbacks also that it was not that much successful because people were not that much eager to donate their land. So this was a big problem. Again, next problem was the class differentiation problem, and the caste problem was also there in the village area. That's why this movement was not that much successful, and this peaked around 1969, and then the movement fall apart. Finally, if we talk about some government policies right now in today's time regarding the land reforms part, you can talk about that government is trying to map the land area, and it is also assigning conclusive titles so that in future if they require any loan part, they can take showing those documents. Then government is also speeding up the land acquisition part. There is also transparency in land leasing part, and the land consolidation part is there. Then Digital India Land Reforms Modernization Program is also brought by the government. It is a center sector scheme. Then Swamitra scheme is also there that provides property rights to the village households in the rural areas so that it will help in future if they want any loan. Then there is Forest Right Act is also there, in which the government is assigning a patta. Patta is a piece of land, and if they have been cultivating that area or if they have been living in that area for last 75 years, so they will be assigned a patta. Then there is Model Agriculture Land Leasing Act that was brought in 2016. Basically, the objective was to protect the owners from illegal occupation by the tenants, and it also allows the farmers to use that leasing agreement. The tenants can use that agreement for farm loans. So we have read a lot about the land reforms. So let us move back to our question. Let us see how we can approach this part. So in this part, First of all, in the introduction, you can talk about the land reforms. Then you can talk about the factors that were responsible for the successful of this land reforms were strong political will, an example you can talk about is Kerala and West Bengal. In these areas, government prioritized the land reforms and it was quite successful. In West Bengal, there was Operation Barga. That was quite successful. So you can talk about that it helped to secure the rights of the tenants and the sharecroppers and also ensured long-term access to the land. Second part you can talk about is active role of social movements. Again, Kerala example you can give is Kerala land reform movement. And it helped to mobilize the land and it was given to the rural landless farmers and the poor farmers, and it also helped to ensure their voices for the land. Then effective legal framework that was brought by the government. Such as Kerala Land Reforms Act. Here it was movement, here you can write about Act in 1963. Then there are some administrative efficiencies. You can write that West Bengal created lot number of tribunals to solve the this litigation part. They also made administrative machinery and so that there should be timely implementation of these land reforms. Then you can talk about the decentralization of power. Admin efficiency, decentralization of power. Panchayati Raj system was made, and this Panchayati Raj system gave power to the local government bodies so that they can also check the work of the government and they can also check whether these reforms are being done on time or there are some problems related to it that can be told to the government. Then it also focused on the equity and the social justice part, that it helped to empower the marginalized community. And finally, you can write about the conclusion in the state that Kerala and West Bengal, they were able to implement such reforms. So the solution for this question is provided in the comment section. It is being pinned, and there is also one practice question that is being pinned in the comment section. You can check and write over there, and all other links are related to the GS score part is also shared in the comment section. Thank you everyone.